In this video, I will discuss planes as a structural element for understanding tonal value better and light and tonal value. Before I start talking about tonal value and light, I will just touch upon the construction of the phase when you see it in 3/4 of the view. Every time every time a person doesn't look directly at you, um, the face is distorted by the perspective, where the person's looking up, down, sideways. And some rules that we discussed before for construction, for structural elements, how to construct the face, may not apply. For example, here you can see if I take the plumb line that the eyes, so his eyes are not on one straight line. The face is distorted by perspective. So if you imagine that it fits into this shape, like a cuboid shape, then it's rotated in such a way, like so 3/4 of the view. And the line on which the eyes are and the mouth will be distorted by perspective. Um, and the rules for the ears, a lot of those rules that we discussed before when we look directly at a person would not work. A good example of perspective is glasses, and you can really see here how the glasses are distorted. Um, so the best, if you're struggling with perspective, the best is to use plumb lines that we discussed in previous videos. Let's see, like I'm dropping this plumb line down, and what comes out of it first? Okay, this the eye. It's a left eye, but it looks right to us, but it's a left eye, right? So left eye comes out first, and then the iris of the left eye is already all out when the iris of the right eye, um, it's obvious now that it's much lower. Right? Now the nose, the nostril, the right nostril is a little lower than the left nostril, etc. So the chin. So all this you need to check with the plumb line, using plumb line and angles when you construct the face. But today we are talking about light. So I talked before about all the information, all these lines, they don't exist, they're not real. It's only the light that identifies the form and gives us information about what this form is made of, right? So by texture, by the way the light reflects off of the surface. For example, if you look at his eyes, you see the highlight right here. It gives information for our brain that the eyeball is shiny, right? So it has moisture. Where the hair, might have a little, his hair is gray, or the skin does not have any shine. So, let's talk about light. So if you look at the sphere, the closer the surface of the sphere to the source of light, the lighter it is. So first you see this area, which is the lightest, Then the midtones here and here. So it indicates that the surface is curling away from the light. Then the darker values, so it's even further away from the light. And then really dark right here. So this area is blocked from the light. So this shadow is called cast shadow. It is on a different surface. It is blocked by some other object. The light is blocked um, by some other object. So, and this shadow is a form shadow. Light, when it hits the surface, right here you see the arrow, it hits the surface, and then it reflects off that surface. And right here you see values that are a little lighter. So pay attention to that when you when when you look at the chin. Most of the time you'll see this reflective surface. Okay, the easiest way to work I found with tone is on tone paper because you already have mid-tone set up. Um, so right here you see there's a mid-tone right here, um, and that's your paper. And then it's easy. You don't have to shade a lot, so it's easy to bring out the light and highlights and push the dark values in. Here's an example of a wrinkle. So if you take just a ribbon and wave it with um, with waves different height, you can tell that the shallower the wave, the less dark, the less shadow you see right here. And the taller the wave, the more shadow you see. So wrinkles work the same way. The deeper the wrinkle, the darker the line. Uh-oh. Um, so it's easy if you think it's easier if you think about face as um, you simplify it into simple shapes. And then those shapes have separate planes. Plane is a structural element and it's a distinct surface without much variation. If you separate complex forms into simpler planes, then it will be easier to understand how the light hits that surface. On the left here in the video, you see how none of that has been constructed. All this, you have to think about all this in your head. Although yes, you can construct it and then erase, but thinking about it is crucial. So here, let's think of a face as this squashed cylinder, a drum, and the outside is all lit. And in the same way, here is the face, right? So this side is all lit. Now let's think of it as we're chiseling away. We're chiseling some matter away, right? So we created this indentation in the form. That's where the eye sockets are. And now we see the shadow because there's no light coming in here. Then we chisel in the nose, in a simpler form. And then we see now that here's the shadow is created right here underneath the nose, right here, so it's been casted by the nose onto the upper lip. Now let's chisel the mouth line. The upper lip is always dark if the light comes from above, which most of the time that's how we see humans. And the bottom lip is always lighter because given that the light's coming from above. because the light hits it. So here we simplified. We simplified, and after you have this understanding, then you start chiseling more and more material away to make form, to separate it into even more different planes, to give it more detailed planes. So here we're chiseling even more material away. Right here you see that, okay, let's compare this. So right here you see how in the eye socket there was just only a shadow. Right? So the light is not coming into the eye socket. However, when you place the eye into the eye socket, it comes out a little bit. So now it results in this area being in the shadow, and then the eye is a sphere coming out. So that's why the bottom lid is lit really well by the light. The eyeball itself always, given that the light is coming from above, always has a shadow from the upper lid that is casted on the eyeball. Okay, so the nose, one plane, now we chiseled it. This used to be just one plane, one simple plane, and it was sort of like a mid value. Then we separate it into two. This is darker, and this is going a little bit outward. This plane is going a little bit outward, so it picks up more light. So this more detail, so you creating more planes, you literally chiseling different planes out of the form. Okay, so here we see a casted shadow from the nose. Lips, where before it was just one line, now lips picked up some complexity. The cheek, here you can think of the cheek as a sphere, and whatever surface of the sphere is closer to the light is going to be lit up really well. And here's the arrow indicates where the light is coming from. So it's coming from above and our left, his right. The same with the chin. So we chiseling more planes out of the form. You add more complexity. So underneath the lip, there'll be a mid-tone, because the plane is going away from the light. It really is helpful if you take your finger and just whatever area that you're working on, trace the contour of your face and pay attention what angles this form picks up. Is it going in? Is the angle going in or out? How does your finger moves on your face? So think about it, and if you have trouble just conceptualizing it, place your finger on that part that you're drawing and pay very close attention how the form rotates. Where is it curling in, away from the light? Is it bending? Is it linen, um, all that information, very important. And also keep the source of the light in mind all the time. So the ear, we broke it into several planes. The part that is outside, obviously, right? So it's lit by the light really well. And then here you see the shadow that's casted, and it gives for our brain the information about the crevice that is created here. So the same you can see with the neck right here. A dark, this dark area is a casted shadow. And also, if you look, this side is darker, let's say right here. That's where there's more light hits the surface. So first you would start with the highlight. If you're working with the white pencil and graphite, start with white surfaces first. So highlights, identify them first. So that way the graphite and chalk don't mix. If they do mix, then they'll make gray, and it's very hard to revert it back into white. That is it for now. Next video we will think about details and texture.